It's always been on my mind that food is important and you don't waste it, and there is abundance all around if you seek it. There's a lot of good food out there that almost goes into the trash, and we can do something about that by shopping and shopping wisely. Sad thing is about you can't really pre-plan. Like I said, hominy, or it could be pineapple, So you can't pre-plan so much. Like, this is some stuff that I picked up recently at Schnucks, just to give you an idea of some things where they have fruit on sale, where they'll have this for 99 cents for, this is 4 pieces of fruit, 2 grapefruits, an apple, and a lemon. Another bag we opened earlier is a grapefruit, a lemon, an orange, and a really nice apple. And there's really not much wrong with them. There's a little blemish on the apple. It's still solid. The orange, won't know till we cut into it, but it's probably going to be fine. The grapefruit's a little squishy, but it's not bad. And the lemon's just got a few imperfections on it that's going to stop somebody from picking it up. So I like this because I save these bags too, and I cut off the bottom and turn them into when you can go into the store for your own produce, just take them with you. And they're great mesh expandable kind of bags that you can put stuff in, or at the farmer's market. And when I get too many of them, I give them to crafters who want to kind of organize things. We have a perennial craft place near me. And I give stuff to them. But so that's kind of thing. Now, this is kind of a first class food. It's not really terrible. It's pretty good. It's eventually would end up in waste if somebody didn't buy it, or in the food banks. Then there are things called food shares in town here, where people pick up food from grocery stores that is at expiration date, and that's milk, dairy, vegetables, fruits, and almost any kind of thing from the store will come into a food share that's ready to go out. And that's a little bit dicier. Foods that often end up in food shares are potatoes and onions and garlic and apples and bananas. Bananas sometimes that are really pretty far gone, but kind of interesting. Bread, as we were talking here, we're at Thomas Dunn Learning Center, and they do a food share. They actually had those 5,000 loaves of bread. I like that she brought this book, because using every part of the vegetable is an important thing. Some of my favorites on using things are beet stem pickles, which are you cut the beet stems into little tiny 1/4-inch pieces, and you quick pickle them, and they are great in salads and stuff. Also, radish cream, where you take the tops of the radishes and pulse those with yogurt and a little cheese and some spices, and you make a radish cream. You can put some cream cheese if you want. I choose to kind of just do it with the yogurt, and that's a great way to kind of get more vitamins. There's a lot of vitamins in there. Yeah, and keeping all of your onion skins when you cut off the root plate, when you cut off the top on an onion, garlic skins, garlic centers, everything goes in my house, everything goes in a container in the refrigerator, and every week I make a soup stock. I kind of sort it by kind of more savory things and more sweet things, like carrots and sweet potatoes, and things that'll go sweet go in one container, and things like onion skins, garlic, regular red potato skins, and things like that. Green peppers, even the seeds from green peppers and the centers and everything goes in there. In the savory, lettuce, spinach, anything, spinach stems, all go in to the stock pot, for the stock pot, and then making different stocks. The same thing applies we don't eat a lot of meat, but if we do, the bones and stuff get, after the meat's roasted, and chicken, it's usually chicken or pork, and then that goes into a stock too. So it's a lot of cooking, but it does work. Things that most often come up in these kind of like distressed foods are apples. There's usually always apples, and Dierberg's has this, and Schnucks has it. Aldi's just has good bargain prices all the time, but they also have discount stuff sometimes if you get there. So you can always look for that. And then apples, you can do more with it than just make applesauce, although that's good. If you do make applesauce, you might want to add some berries or some peaches or some ripe plums, or I like apple cranberry in the fall, where you're actually cooking those things together and you're getting more out of it. Baked apples for a lot of the ones that are the softer apples, like the Golden Delicious. Red Delicious is not good for baking, but the softer apples are kind of good, and you can do that. You can also slice and cut them in slices this way, like long, so you get rounds, and then put those in the dehydrator, a little sugar, a little cinnamon, and make dehydrated apple treats that are really good. Apple jelly. The peels make apple jelly. And galettes. I've got a picture of a galette. A galette is a very easy fruit pie that's used as a bottom crust. You usually put either a little preserves on the bottom, or sprinkle some sugar and brown sugar and a little bit of butter, and then you just layer your fruit in, and you turn the crust over on the edges, and so it's like an open pie, flat, and that's a really great way to get rid of apples. Avocados are a similar thing. They come up often, and sometimes they're not in the best shape, but you can make a chocolate pudding out of avocados, and just as it is, it's a little too rich for me, but I add yogurt to it in addition to cocoa and a little sweetener of some kind, and you've got, you've saved an avocado. I mean, not to mention the first year of the pandemic, we decided to grow plants from other plants, and so we did sweet potatoes and avocados and pineapple, and it was fun. Bell peppers will end up in the uglier fruits because they might have a bad color, or they might just be the wrong size, too small or too big, and people don't buy them. So peppers are some of the easiest things. You can just slice them, put them on a cookie sheet, lay them out, freeze them, put them in a bag, and use them whenever you want. Of course, you can even stuff them. Stuffed green peppers are good, and they will freeze. Halves will freeze too. So and then there's always like wonderful things from other cultures, like pepperonata, an Italian. It's all peppers, onions, and olives, and sometimes celery that's sautéed, and it's like a dip. It's a dip. It's great. Berries end up in food shares and in the markdown sections a lot. And berries that are too soft for snacking can be put right into yogurt and made into smoothies, of course. A lot of people will throw out the whole bunch if there's just a molded berry in a corner or something. Not me. We're still alive after many years. I keep the ones that are good and throw away only the ones that are bad, and they're always good. Cabbage is just like, there's a lot of cabbage in this country, and it's just good ways to use that. Besides, if you keep good coleslaw recipes handy, is there's an Irish dish called colcannon. That's a mix of cabbage and potatoes and onions and usually sour cream, but you can do it with other stuff. You can just do it with milk, and it's good. We also like one of the Sustainable Backyard people gave us a recipe from Kitchen House Coffee for yummy cabbage sloppy joes, and that was Paul Whitsitt and his partner David they have a small farm with chickens and crops and stuff behind their house that actually supplies their restaurant with fresh fruit and fresh eggs, and it's a great kind of sustainable kind of system. And they've got a cook that is very willing to. All their chefs are pretty inventive, and some of the really good recipes they have, they're good to look at for things too. One of the things people ask me all the time is about eggs. They've left their eggs in the refrigerator too long. They're way out of date, or they're slightly out of date. Are they any good? Probably. If you do make a cold bowl of water, like I use one of my stainless steel big bowls, and fill it with cold water. And then you put the eggs in, and the old eggs will stand on point, and they're fine. They'll touch in the bottom, but they're standing straight up, and it's really fun. I mean, it's like, it's like that. I mean, and they literally do stand up, and they're kind of waving around in the water. And a bad egg will float to the top. So you can't use that one. That one's too far gone. You don't want to do that. But eggs are just they can you can get by with them. The other thing is you can if you hard boil them in the shell, and you put the date that you did the hard boil on them on the shell in pencil, you'll know to eat them. Before they go bad. They last about 5 to 7 days. They also make a good carrier vehicle for any of your vegetables. Your zucchini, for example, that's another thing. The squashes, the summer and the winter squashes, both end up in markdowns. And zucchini goes a whole lot further than just with zucchini bread, just like banana bread. It's not the only thing. So you can try something with zucchini. I learned from a friend to make zucchini pancakes years ago, and it's basically grated zucchini, carrots, onion. You can put whatever you want in there, sometimes corn, a little flour, an egg, a little baking soda, a little baking powder, put it in the skillet, and it's in a little bit of oil, and you've got zucchini pancakes, and they're great lunch or dinner. So I'm always looking for recipes for zucchini. Sweet potatoes and potatoes end up more sweet potatoes than regular potatoes, but they're just great veggies, and people, I think, we only think about them at Thanksgiving, but they're great things. So those are some things that end up most often in these what they call food reduced food, but that's not all. There are packages every day. Schnucks marks down packages of meat, usually half price. You get there in the morning before 10, and you run through their butcher's case, and you'll find half price. Like yesterday, I didn't bring them in because I didn't know how long we would be, but I picked up a package of chicken legs, and it was $2.67 for this package that was $7 at regular price. All of that stuff is marked down every day, so you just kind of want to keep an eye if you're there. Baked goods, the same thing at Schnucks. At Dierberg's, they mark down their prepared foods. They have a special markdown aisle that I don't think very many people find because it's off of the produce department. And in that markdown aisle, they've got produce and bread, like everybody, but they've also got products and prepared foods. Like they have a sushi special on Tuesdays. Well, on Wednesdays, you can usually pick up a tray of sushi for $5, because it's just one day, but they've got to sell it. They've got to get rid of it. And I usually if I get that, I get the avocado, the California roll, because I know for sure that it's not going to kill me, But they mark down their prepared foods, so you can get great deals on that too. Two other items. The little potatoes. This was I don't know how many of you have seen these. These little potatoes are like $3.99 a pack, and they're usually pretty good. So yesterday, in preparation for this, I went to a food share, and this is one of the things I picked up because it was bagged, and I wanted to see. I didn't know what it would be like. This is what I can save and use out of this bag. These are a little too far gone, but I will still use some of these softer ones in a stock, but some of them are too soft, they're too far gone, and I'll have to compost those. But that many potatoes are not going into the compost or into the waste basket. And the same thing with these little cucumbers, which I didn't open up yet, but I'm going to. These are kind of like specialty. Have you had these Persian cucumbers? These are specialty food that you'll find at better special, like Trader Joe's and Whole Foods and Fresh Time, and they're a little sweeter. They're snacking cucumbers. People often just eat them out of hand, and there's a little bit wrong with them. You can see there's a little bit of damages. This you can just cut off. Feel how they are so firm So they're really kind of nice for snacking and doing stuff with. They're just great. But now out of this package, that is the only cucumber. Oh, this one has a tiny little place on it right here. So this would be cut off here and here. That's all that's wrong with those. Now, and a food share is a bunch of people who make the rounds of the grocery stores, pick up stuff, and then they give it out to people like they do here. Every Thursday they do a food share here at Thomas Dunn. And it really helps families to balance their budget, and it also keeps stuff, shows you how much abundance we do have in this country. That happens pretty much all over the city. And there is a group called the St. Louis Free Food Network that has a Facebook page where they post daily about what they're giving away, what's happening in town, and what food is available. And it's really, really interesting. We got involved with this because of a young woman named Natalie Findergy who took it on herself. She lived in this neighborhood, and she took it on herself to invite her farmer friends to give her the produce that they couldn't sell at markets because it was either misshapen or maybe it was out of date or something like that. And at her house once a month she had what she called the pop-up restaurant, where she invited professional chefs, which is how I heard about it, to come in and work with these imperfect foods that she collected and to make dinners for people. Once a month she had a pop-up dinner. She called it the pop-up cafe. And it was great because people were mixing from the neighborhood. The neighborhood people were coming in. This was in her house. She had a two-family. She set up one side of the two-family for her pop-ups and for her community work. She also had music nights, and people came in, and she had her backyard and her front yard turned into a sustainable garden. The other thing that you might want to check out is I brought these crackers, and these were from Dollar Tree. So this package of crackers is $1.25. Well, this is good for the holidays. This is a Turkish cracker, and they're delicious, and they come in 5 individual packs, so they're like calories 120 for the 5 crackers. So you can, if you're watching what you're doing, you can do that. But these on retail go between $4.99 and $6.99 online. So Dollar Tree, their food selections, you can get bumblebee tuna for $1.25. You can get jarred red peppers for $1.25, very inexpensively. Sardines, they have different brands, but some of them are wild caught even, like Wild Planet, which is a pretty good brand. They'll mark them for $1.25, and it's worth a look just to kind of, every once in a while, just go in the food aisle at the Dollar Tree, and I'll look for stuff. And I know I'm looking with a practiced eye. I mean, I realize that, but at the same time, I'll buy one and see whether or not we like it. And with my husband Bill, he is a cancer survivor, so it's kind of important that we feed him a lot of fruits and vegetables and not too much meat and beans and stuff like that. And doing this kind of stuff has really helped to keep that kind of food on the table at a reasonable cost. So I encourage people to do it, even as a food writer, a professional food writer, and a former board member of Jefferson Solid Waste Management District and is sponsoring this program. I do encourage people to look for ways. So. And one of the things, Vivian came to help today, but I brought this towel from Penzeys, and Rachel already knows about this stuff. This is how you do your spices. You watch for Penzeys sales, and you try not to overrun yourself. 2 things that we really enjoy from them that are not spices, that are the purple potato of love, which Vivian calls little purple croutons for salads, which I think she kind of keyed me onto that. And that oftentimes makes food look really good. And also the crystallized ginger bits and stirred into yogurt and stuff like that with these fruits. It really kind of amps up the flavor. So that's how you participate in the spice market. The last of the tortilla chips it makes a wonderful breading for fish if you just crush those up and keep them. In fact, the Post has a recipe from the Royale for their fish, and that it uses the Doritos crushed up, which is kind of like what I keep them for, is for making that Royale recipe. Bill makes marmalade, so all citrus gets, but I freeze them in bags. I take the pith off, cut them in strips, and then, or sometimes I use the bartender's tool to take off just the color, slice it, freeze it. Zest, you can do the same thing. If you the microplane on a piece of wax paper and just make little piles of zest, little circles of zest, and then just I wrap those in wax paper and put them in a freezer, and I just pull out lime zest, orange zest, and my new favorite, Mexican limes, which was a discovery from one of these silly things. Thanks for coming. Thanks for asking me to do this, Terry, because this is something that's very close to my heart.